This is the moment everything changes for you. Not loudly, not suddenly, but clearly. You feel it already. The quiet tension, the sense that something inside you is ready to move forward. You have carried distraction longer than you should have. Not because you are weak, but because your focus has never been claimed. Focus is not pressure. Focus is freedom. It is the ability to choose one direction and walk it without hesitation. Right now the noise fades. The pulling stops. The world loosens its grip on your attention. You are stepping out of reaction and into command. This is not motivation. This is alignment. You are separating from the distracted version of yourself. The one who hesitated. The one who delayed. That version stays behind. From this moment forward, you move with clarity. You trust yourself. You lead yourself. You are not the same person who pressed play. Chapter 1: The Invisible War for Your Attention. There is a war happening inside you. It is quiet. It does not announce itself, but it shapes your days, your energy, and your future. This war is not against the world. It is not against people, systems, or circumstances. It is a war for your attention. You feel it when your mind drifts without permission. You feel it when your focus fractures into pieces. You feel it when you know what matters, yet your energy moves elsewhere. Pause for a moment. Notice. Nothing is wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not behind. Focus is not lost by accident. It is taken. Every distraction pulls gently. Not to harm you, but to claim you. This is not about blame. This is about awareness. Awareness is the first victory. Right now, slow down. Not your body, your mind. You are here. The modern world competes endlessly for your attention. Screens glow. Voices call. Tasks multiply. None of them ask for permission. They simply enter. Over time, attention fragments. Not suddenly, gradually, like a storm forming far away. At first, the wind is light. A thought here, a notification there. Then the storm builds. Thoughts collide. Emotions react. Focus dissolves. You do not notice when it begins. You only notice when you are tired. This is the invisible war. On one side is noise. Constant, urgent, demanding. On the other side is command. Quiet, still, intentional. Noise shouts. Command waits. Noise pulls outward. Command draws inward. The distracted version of you lives in the storm, always reacting, always responding. That version is not weak. It is simply surrounded. Picture a crowded room. Voices overlapping. Movement everywhere. Everyone wants your attention. No one leads. Now picture a locked door. One space. One direction. Behind that door is still water. Clear. Undisturbed. Focus lives there. Focus is not effort. It is selection. You cannot control everything that enters your world, but you can control what stays. This is where power begins. Whoever controls your attention controls your life. Your thoughts, your emotions, your actions. If attention is scattered, life feels scattered. If attention is steady, life aligns. This chapter is not asking you to fight harder. It is asking you to see clearly. You versus your old distracted self. Not with judgment, with honesty. The old version of you moved quickly, consumed endlessly, jumped between tasks. It felt productive, but it was busy, not focused. That version believed speed meant progress. That reaction meant engagement. That constant input meant growth. But something was missing. Clarity, direction, ownership. Focus does not shout. It does not demand urgency. It invites commitment. When you choose focus, you choose depth over noise, meaning over motion, leadership over reaction. Leadership begins internally. Before you lead others, you lead attention. Right now, bring it back. Gently. Notice your breathing. Notice the space between thoughts. Slow down. You are here. This moment is not about doing more. It is about seeing more. Seeing how often your attention is borrowed. Seeing how rarely it is owned. This awareness changes everything. The storm does not disappear instantly, but you learn to step out of it. Still water does not argue with the storm. It remains. Focus works the same way. You do not chase calm. You return to it. Every time you notice distraction, you win. Every time you choose presence, you strengthen command. This is training, not punishment. The world will continue to pull. That is not a problem. The difference is that now you notice. Notice when attention drifts. Notice when noise rises. Notice when reaction replaces intention. Then pause. Slow down. You are here. This is how power begins quietly. Without applause. Without pressure. Just awareness. The more you practice noticing, the stronger you become. Not louder. Stronger. Your mind learns that you are leading now. That attention is not free to wander endlessly. It begins to settle. Like water after a storm. You do not need to force it. You do not need to rush it. You only need to earn. Again and again. Each return builds trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in your direction. This is the first separation. The distracted version of you thrived on impulse. The focused version of you thrives on choice. Choice creates clarity. Clarity creates confidence. Confidence creates leadership. Quiet leadership. You are not withdrawing from the world. You are stepping into yourself. You are learning that attention is sacred. That where it goes, life follows. This chapter ends where power begins. With awareness. Not dramatic. Not forceful. Just clear. And clarity changes everything. I am ready. Chapter 2, Why Discipline Feels Hard and Why That's a Lie. Discipline feels hard for one reason. Not because you lack strength. Not because you lack will. But because something inside you has not yet agreed. You have been told that discipline is force. That it is struggle. That it is pushing yourself against your own nature. That story is incomplete. What you feel as difficulty is not resistance to discipline. It is resistance to change. Pause here. Let that settle. You are not fighting effort. You are confronting identity. This is where confusion begins. You want focus. You want consistency. You want control. Yet something pulls you back. Not loudly. Quietly. You plan. You prepare. Then hesitation appears. This hesitation does not mean weakness. It means your old identity is still protecting itself. Every habit you carry once served a purpose. Even the ones you want to remove. Distraction once gave relief. Delay once reduced pressure. Comfort once felt safe. Your mind remembers this. When you attempt discipline, the mind asks a simple question: who are we becoming? If the answer is unclear, resistance rises. This is not sabotage. It is preservation. Old habits exist to protect an old version of you. A version that survived by avoiding discomfort, by choosing familiarity over growth. That version did not fail. It adapted. But adaptation is not destiny. Right now, you stand between two identities. The one you have been, and the one you are becoming. This space feels uncomfortable, not because it is wrong, but because it is new. What feels hard is simply unfamiliar. Think of delayed gratification, not as sacrifice, but as trust. When you delay gratification, you are telling yourself, I believe the future version of me is worth investing in. That belief may feel unfamiliar, because you were trained to seek immediate relief, immediate reward, immediate escape. There is nothing shameful in that. It was learned, but what is learned can be unlearned. Discipline is not about denying pleasure. It is about choosing direction. The confusion clears when you see this. You are not forcing yourself to work. You are aligning yourself with who you want to be. Alignment feels light. Force feels heavy. If discipline feels heavy, something is misaligned. This is where clarity begins. You do not need more motivation. You need fewer negotiations. Every time you argue with yourself, energy leaks. Every debate drains momentum. Negotiation keeps the old identity alive. So the command becomes simple. Stop negotiating. Not harshly, firmly. Decide once. Decisions remove friction. Negotiations create it. When you decide once, discipline becomes automatic. There is no daily struggle, no emotional bargaining. You wake up knowing who you are, and you act accordingly. This is relief, the relief of certainty. Notice how clarity changes the body. Shoulders relax, breathing slows. Relief does not come from rest alone. It comes from alignment. When effort aligns with identity, effort feels lighter. You are not trying to be disciplined. You are becoming someone who acts with discipline. That difference changes everything. Old habits will attempt to return, not aggressively. Familiar patterns never shout. They whisper. They offer comfort. They offer delay. They offer later. Later is the language of the old self. The new self speaks differently. The new self does not rush, but it does not hesitate. It moves with quiet certainty. Confusion fades when you stop asking, "Can I do this?" and start stating, "This is who I am." Clarity replaces conflict. Relief follows clarity. You feel it when you stop fighting yourself. When effort no longer feels like punishment. Discipline stops feeling hard because it stops being personal. It is no longer a test of worth. It is a standard of behavior. Standards remove emotion. Emotion creates struggle. When you live by standards, you conserve energy. You move forward without drama. This is leadership. Internal leadership. You do not lead yourself by pressure. You lead yourself by direction. And direction requires one thing: decision. Decide once. Decide who you are becoming. Decide what matters. Decide what no longer negotiates. Stop negotiating. This is not rigidity. It is freedom. Freedom from endless debate. Freedom from second guessing. Freedom from self-conflict. You feel relief when the mind knows who is in charge. And right now, that is you. The unfamiliar begins to feel normal. The hard begins to feel natural. Not overnight, but steadily. Each aligned action reinforces identity. Each completed task builds trust. Trust replaces resistance. You are not forcing discipline into your life. You are removing what no longer fits. The old identity loosens its grip. Not with pain, with understanding. It sees that growth does not mean danger. That effort does not mean loss. It sees that the future version of you is stronger, calmer, more capable, and slowly it steps aside. This is the moment relief deepens. Why? Are no longer split, no longer arguing internally. You move forward with unity. This chapter is not about doing more. It is about deciding clearly. Confusion becomes clarity. Clarity becomes relief. And relief becomes power. The kind of power that does not shout. The kind that does not rush. The kind that lasts. You are learning that discipline was never the enemy. Indecision was. Now that you see this, something shifts. Effort aligns. Resistance softens. And for the first time, discipline feels possible. Not because it is easy, but because it makes sense. The unfamiliar is becoming familiar. And you are ready to go further. Chapter 3: Identity Before Habit. You have tried effort. You have tried systems. You have tried pushing harder. And still, something returned you to the same place. This is not failure. This is information. Focus does not come from trying harder. It comes from deciding who you are. Pause here. Let that land. Most people attempt to change habits while protecting the same identity. They want different results without becoming different internally. That creates friction. That creates doubt. That creates exhaustion. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of who you believe you are. This is why habit change feels temporary when identity stays untouched. Habits are not the foundation. They are the reflection. When identity shifts, habits follow naturally. Quietly, automatically. This chapter is not about what you do. It is about who you are becoming. Right now, there are two versions of you in conversation. The familiar one and the emerging one. The familiar version speaks in questions. Can I keep this up? What if I fail? What if I lose motivation? Those questions are not weakness. They are echoes of an old identity. The emerging version speaks differently. It does not argue. It states, "This is who I am now." That statement changes behavior without force. Self-doubt does not disappear through reassurance. It disappears through identity clarity. When you are unclear about who you are becoming, doubt fills the gap. When identity is clear, doubt has nowhere to stand. This is why affirmations alone fail when identity is undefined. Words cannot override uncertainty. But when identity is chosen, words become reminders. You are not here to convince yourself. You are here to claim yourself. Picture armor being forged. It does not happen instantly. Heat is applied. Pressure follows. Time is required. Each strike shapes the metal, not to damage it, but to strengthen it. Identity is forged the same way. Every focused action is a strike. Every decision not to quit adds structure. Every moment of restraint adds weight. You are not pretending to be disciplined. You are becoming disciplined. There is a difference. Pretending requires constant effort. Becoming requires commitment. Commitment is quiet. It does not announce itself. This is where silent self-respect begins. Silent self-respect does not seek validation. It does not explain itself. It does not defend its choices. It simply acts in alignment. When you respect yourself, you keep promises you never speak aloud. You show up when no one is watching. You finish what you start without applause. That is identity in motion. The old loop of self-doubt depends on one thing: hesitation. Hesitation invites questions. Questions invite delay. Delay invites doubt. To end the loop, you remove hesitation. Not by rushing, by deciding. Decide who you are becoming. Not vaguely, not someday. Now, when identity is chosen, action follows naturally. You do not ask, "Should I focus?" A focused person focuses. You do not ask, "Should I train?" A disciplined person trains. This is not pressure. This is clarity. Clarity simplifies life. Many people exhaust themselves trying to manage behavior. They monitor habits, track streaks, fight impulses. They are fighting symptoms. You are addressing the source. Identity. When identity shifts, behavior aligns. This is why short-term motivation fades. It energizes behavior, but leaves identity untouched. Identity level change lasts because it becomes automatic. You stop asking for permission. You stop bargaining. You stop waiting to feel ready. You move because it matches who you are. This is the moment you stop outsourcing authority to mood. Mood is temporary. Identity is stable. When mood leads, progress fluctuates. When identity leads, progress compounds. This is leadership. Internal leadership. Before you lead outcomes, you lead yourself. And self-leadership begins with one question: who am I becoming? Not who you were. Not who others expect. Who you choose. That choice is private. No announcement required. Think of claiming a name. Once claimed, it does not need explanation. You answer to it. You grow into it. Identity works the same way. When you claim the identity of someone who focuses, focus becomes normal. When you claim the identity of someone who finishes, completion becomes expected. Expectation shapes behavior. This is why clarity feels grounding. It removes internal chaos. The mind relaxes when it knows the standard. The body follows. Self-doubt begins to weaken because it has lost relevance. Doubt survives in ambiguity. It fades in certainty. Certainty does not mean perfection. It means direction. You will still feel resistance, but resistance no longer controls you. It becomes feedback, not a command. You acknowledge it. Then you move. This is silent strength. The kind that does not argue with discomfort. It outlasts it. As identity stabilizes, habits reorganize naturally. You wake up differently. You choose differently. You respond differently. Not because you are forcing change, because change has already occurred internally. This is where people misunderstand transformation. They look for dramatic shifts, visible moments. Real change is quieter. It shows up as consistency, as calm execution, as reduced internal conflict. You feel less pulled, less scattered, not because life is easier, because you are clearer. Clarity is power. Power that does not rush. Power that does not shout. Power that endures. Every day, you reinforce identity with action. Every action strengthens belief. Belief is no longer theoretical. It is proven. Proof eliminates doubt. You trust yourself because you see yourself acting in alignment. This trust is earned, not imagined, and it grows slowly, reliably. This is how armor is forged, strike by strike, decision by decision, not for appearance, for protection. Protection against old patterns, against distraction, against self-betrayal. As armor forms, you feel safer committing fully, safer focusing deeply, safer choosing discipline without fear of collapse. You are no longer fragile. You are becoming solid. This solidity changes how you move through the world. You stop over-explaining. You stop seeking reassurance. You stop asking for permission. You act, and action reinforces identity again. This cycle is upward. Identity shapes action. Action reinforces identity. This is how momentum becomes permanent. This is how focus stops being a task and becomes a trait. You are not building habits. You are becoming a person whose habits make sense. This realization ends the struggle. The old version of you does not disappear overnight. It fades. It loses influence. It loses authority. Not through rejection, through replacement. A stronger identity stands in its place. Calm, certain, quiet. You do not announce this shift. You live it. That is silent self-respect. And it changes how you see yourself. You no longer wonder if you can handle what is coming. You prepare for it. Preparation replaces fear. Fear thrives in uncertainty. Preparation thrives in clarity. You are no longer trying to focus. You are someone who focuses. You are no longer hoping to be disciplined. You are someone who acts with discipline. This is not a mindset trick. It is a decision. And decisions shape destiny. Right now, take this moment seriously. Not emotionally. Internally. You are choosing who you are becoming. No audience. No pressure. Just truth. Say it quietly. Not for effect. For alignment. I decide who I become. That sentence is not motivation. It is ownership. Ownership changes behavior without force. You feel it settling in. The calm certainty. The sense that something has shifted permanently. You are no longer chasing focus. You are becoming its source. And once identity locks in, habits follow. Effort aligns. Resistance weakens. And the path forward becomes clear. Not easy, but steady. You are ready for what comes next. Chapter 4: The Power of Silence and Secrecy. Real focus grows in silence. Not in explanation. Not in performance. In silence. This is difficult for many people to accept because silence feels invisible. And invisibility feels uncomfortable when you are used to being seen. But silence is not absence. Silence is protection. Momentum is fragile in its early stages. Not weak. Fragile. Like a flame just beginning to form. Too much air can kill it. Too many voices can scatter it. Too much attention can pull it apart. This is why silence matters. When you speak too early about what you are building, you leak energy. Not because words are bad, but because intention is still forming. Every explanation demands justification. Every justification invites opinion. Every opinion dilutes focus. You do not lose momentum because people disagree. You lose momentum because attention splits. This chapter is about preserving direction. Silence protects momentum because it keeps attention internal. When attention stays internal, alignment strengthens. When attention turns outward, alignment weakens. This is not about secrecy as fear. It is secrecy as discipline. There is a difference. Fear-based secrecy hides. Discipline-based secrecy concentrates. You are not hiding your plans. You are guarding them. Guarding them from distraction, from noise, from unnecessary interpretation. Your focus does not need witnesses to exist. It needs space. Silence creates space. When you stop explaining yourself, something shifts. You feel it. Your decisions become cleaner. Your actions become sharper. Your energy stops leaking. Talking feels productive, but execution is what produces results. There is a quiet confidence that comes from knowing something is in motion without needing anyone else to see it. That confidence is grounding. It anchors you. Most people speak because they want validation, not praise, permission. They want to know if they are allowed to proceed. Internal leadership does not ask permission. It decides. Internal leadership means you trust your direction enough to walk it alone. This trust is built quietly. Every time you choose action over announcement, self-respect grows. Not dramatically, steadily. Silent self-respect is different from confidence. Confidence can be loud. Self-respect does not need volume. Self-respect moves. Silence trains you to rely on yourself. Not feedback, not reaction, not applause. This is uncomfortable at first. The urge to share appears. The urge to explain. The urge to be understood. Notice that urge. It does not mean you are weak. It means you are human. But you are training something deeper now. You are training restraint. Restraint is power. When you restrain speech, thought sharpens. When thought sharpens, action becomes precise. Precision builds momentum. Momentum grows best when unobserved. This is why many powerful transformations happen quietly. No announcement. No countdown. Just consistent movement. You do not see the preparation. You see the result. That is not coincidence. Talking too much creates emotional release without progress. It tricks the brain into feeling accomplished before action occurs. This is dangerous because the mind cannot always tell the difference between imagined completion and real completion. When you talk about plans, you simulate progress. The body relaxes. Urgency fades. Silence keeps urgency intact. Silence tells the mind, we are not done yet. This is not pressure. It is focus. Move quietly. That command is not about fear. It is about clarity. Quiet movement keeps energy aligned with execution. When energy is aligned, effort feels lighter. You are not explaining. You are doing. This is how leaders move internally. Leadership is not announcing direction. It is holding direction steady. You do not need external confirmation to proceed. If your values are clear, your direction is clear. If direction is clear, movement follows. Silence helps you hear yourself. When the noise stops, internal signals become audible. Intuition sharpens. Judgment improves. You begin to sense when something fits and when it does not. That sensitivity is lost in constant conversation. Conversation pulls attention outward. Silence brings it back. Silence is not isolation. It is containment. Containment keeps energy from scattering. Scattered energy feels busy. Contained energy feels powerful. This is the difference between motion and progress. Many people move loudly and go nowhere. Few move quietly and go far. You are learning to be among the few. This chapter asks you to reduce unnecessary output. Not speech entirely, but speech without purpose. Purposeful speech supports action. Excess speech replaces it. Let results speak. That command removes pressure instantly. When results speak, you no longer need to. You stop defending yourself. Stop explaining delays. Stop promising outcomes. You simply build. And building changes how you carry yourself. Your posture shifts. Your presence stabilizes. You are no longer seeking reassurance mid-process. Mid-process is sacred. It requires protection. The early stages of focus are delicate. Not because you are weak, because transformation is underway. Transformation needs space to settle. Silence gives it that space. You are not becoming withdrawn. You are becoming intentional. Intentional people do not react to every impulse. They choose responses carefully. This choice extends to speech. You learn when to speak and when to hold. Holding builds strength. Strength that does not need expression. Internal leadership grows in this space. You begin to feel it. A subtle authority. Not dominance. Authority. Authority over your time. Over your attention. Over your direction. Authority does not shout. It acts. Silence removes unnecessary friction. When you stop explaining, you stop inviting doubt. Not from others, from yourself. Explaining too much creates internal hesitation. You begin to hear your own words as negotiable. Silence keeps decisions firm. Decisions held quietly are harder to break. They are not exposed to interference. This is why secrecy matters. Not secrecy as deception. Secrecy as discipline. You are not hiding truth. You are protecting process. Process is vulnerable until it becomes reality. Once reality exists, it speaks clearly. Results speak without effort. They do not argue. They do not justify. Hey, stand. Silence trains patience. Patience is not waiting. It is trusting timing. When you trust timing, you do not rush to show progress. You allow growth to mature. Mature growth lasts. Immature exposure collapses. This applies to focus as well. Deep focus requires uninterrupted attention. Not just from devices. From people. Every conversation pulls a thread. Too many threads pulled too early unravel momentum. Silence ties threads together. You become whole again. This wholeness feels calm. Calm does not mean slow. It means centered. Centered movement is efficient. Efficiency compounds. You conserve energy. You move forward without friction. This chapter is about energy conservation. Energy wasted on explanation cannot be used for execution. Execution is where identity solidifies. You are becoming someone who moves with intention, not noise. That identity requires discipline in speech, not suppression. Selection. You select what deserves voice. Most things do not. Your plans do not need voice. They need action. Your growth does not need commentary. It needs consistency. Your focus does not need approval. It needs protection. Silence provides all three. At first, silence may feel lonely. That feeling passes. Loneliness is often the absence of distraction, not connection. When distraction fades, presence returns. You reconnect with yourself. That connection is grounding. You begin to enjoy the quiet execution. There is satisfaction in knowing something is building without interference. That satisfaction fuels discipline. Discipline feels easier when it is private. There is less performance, less pressure, less comparison. Comparison dies in silence. You stop measuring yourself against others. You measure against standards. Standards are internal. Internal standards build internal leadership. Leadership that does not depend on reaction. This is strength, not visible strength. Real strength, the kind that holds under pressure. As silence deepens, your actions become more deliberate. You choose tasks more carefully. You protect focus more fiercely. You say no without explanation. No explanation is required when values are clear. This is not coldness. It is clarity. Clarity reduces emotional labor. You stop managing impressions. You manage direction. Direction matters more. This chapter is teaching you how to move without friction, how to build without noise, how to grow without permission. Move quietly. That command is not temporary. It is a standard that changes how you operate. When you move quietly, you feel stronger. Not because others see you, because you see yourself keeping promises privately. Private consistency builds unshakable confidence. Confidence that does not depend on outcome. Confidence that comes from alignment. Alignment feels peaceful. Peaceful focus is powerful. It allows you to sustain effort longer. Sustained effort creates results. Results speak. When results speak, silence becomes visible. People notice without explanation. That is influence. Influence built quietly lasts longer. This is the path you are on now. Less noise, more intention, less talk, more movement, less exposure, more depth. This is not withdrawal from the world. It is preparation to engage it from strength. Silence is not the absence of power. It is the container of power. And right now, you are learning to hold it. The momentum is building. Quietly, steadily, and it is not finished yet. Chapter 5, Training the Mind to Obey. Your mind is not broken. It has never been broken. It has simply been allowed to wander without leadership. For a long time, your mind has decided where attention goes, what to focus on, what to avoid, when to quit, when to drift. This arrangement was never questioned. It felt normal, automatic, but what feels normal is not always correct. A mind without direction does not become free. It becomes reactive. Reaction is not intelligence. Reaction is habit. This chapter changes the relationship. Not through force, through authority. Authority begins with one realization. You do not ask your mind. You direct it. This does not mean suppression. It means leadership. Your mind is a powerful instrument, but instruments require training. Without training, power becomes chaos. Thoughts repeat. Emotions surge. Attention scatters. Not because the mind is weak, because it has never been taught restraint. Right now, notice something. Thoughts appear automatically. You did not invite them. They simply arrive. This has led many people to believe they are not in control. That belief is incorrect. You cannot control the arrival of every thought, but you can control which thoughts receive attention. Attention is the gateway. Whatever receives attention grows. Whatever is ignored fades. This is not philosophy. It is function. Attention creates loops. A thought appears. Attention engages. Emotion follows. The loop strengthens. Repeat this long enough and it feels permanent. But loops can be interrupted. Not by fighting them, by redirecting attention. This is where training begins. Training does not argue with the mind. It instructs it. At first, the mind resists instruction. Not aggressively, habitually. It wanders back to familiar patterns, old concerns, old distractions. This is expected. Training is repetition with authority. Authority does not negotiate. Authority directs calmly. When a distracting thought appears, you notice it. You do not judge it. You do not analyze it. You redirect. Back to breath, back to task, back to presence. Each redirection is a repetition. Repetition creates conditioning. Conditioning creates obedience. This obedience is not submission. It is alignment. A trained mind works with you, not against you. Attention control is not about intensity. It is about consistency. Small redirections practiced often reshape the mind. This is how focus becomes stable. Emotional regulation follows attention. Emotions surge when attention feeds them. Anxious thoughts grow into anxious states. Angry thoughts grow into agitation. But when attention shifts, emotional intensity. You are not suppressing emotion. You are starving the loop. This is skill. A skill few practice consciously. Most people live inside unexamined loops. They feel emotions without understanding their origin. You are learning to observe without being consumed. Observation creates space. Space creates choice. Choice is power. When focus strengthens, emotions settle faster. Not because life is easier, because you are clearer. Clarity reduces internal noise. Noise drains energy. Clarity conserves it. This chapter is about energy conservation through focus. When your mind obeys, energy flows forward instead of leaking sideways. This is not control through tension. It is control through direction. Direction feels calm. Calm does not mean passive. It means centered. A centered mind responds instead of reacts. Reaction wastes energy. Response uses it precisely. Precision creates effectiveness. Effectiveness builds confidence. Confidence reinforces authority. Authority stabilizes the mind. This cycle builds upward. At first, directing the mind feels deliberate. You must remind yourself often. Notice distraction. Redirect. Notice emotion rising. Return to breath. Return to task. Each return is a victory. Not dramatic, but real. These small victories accumulate. Over time, the mind begins to anticipate direction. It wanders less. It settles faster. This is training working. The mind learns who is leading. And when leadership is clear, obedience follows naturally. This obedience is not rigid. It is responsive. A trained mind adapts quickly. It does not cling. It moves where attention is placed. This gives you control over momentum. Momentum is not speed. It is direction sustained. Distraction interrupts momentum. Focus preserves it. When momentum builds, effort feels lighter. This is where many misunderstand focus. They expect force. They expect strain. But trained focus feels smooth. Like water moving through a channel. The channel directs flow. The water does not resist. Your attention is the water. Your standards are the channel. Standards create obedience. Not rules shouted loudly. Standards held quietly. You decide what receives attention. Not emotionally. Deliberately. This decision repeats. Repetition creates habit. Habit creates identity. You begin to trust yourself more. Trust comes from reliability. When you can direct your attention at will, you trust your ability to lead yourself. This trust changes how you face difficulty. Difficulty no longer feels overwhelming. It becomes manageable because attention stays where it matters. This is emotional regulation through focus. You do not suppress emotion. You contain it. Containment prevents escalation. Escalation drains energy. Containment preserves it. This is strength, not explosive strength. Sustained strength, the kind that lasts under pressure. Now the intensity rises. This is the point where authority locks in. Listen closely. You do not ask your mind what it wants. You tell it where to go. You do not wait for focus to arrive. You place it. You do not follow distraction. You cut it off. Notice. Redirect. Return. Again. And again. And again. This is the transformation peak. Short lines now. Clear commands. Stand still. Breathe. Focus here. Not there. Here. Thought appears. Release it. Return. Emotion rises. Contain it. Return. Distraction calls. Ignore it. Return. You are not arguing. You are directing. Command without anger. Authority without force. Stay. 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 This is training. Each second you hold attention builds strength. Each moment you return builds obedience. You are teaching the mind a new rule. Attention moves where I decide. This rule replaces chaos. Chaos fades when rules are consistent. Consistency builds confidence. Confidence stabilizes focus. Focus sharpens thought. Thought clarifies action. Action reinforces identity. This loop is powerful. You are no longer at the mercy of impulse. Impulse loses strength when attention is withdrawn. Withdraw attention long enough and impulse dissolves. This is mastery, not perfection. Mastery. Mastery does not mean never drifting. It means returning quickly. Speed of return defines control. You will still drift, but you will not stay lost. That difference changes everything. This is relief. Relief comes when you realize you are capable. Capable of directing thought. Capable of regulating emotion. Capable of holding focus. This relief is quiet. It settles into confidence. Confidence deepens authority. Authority becomes natural. You no longer struggle to focus. You choose it. Choice feels empowering. Empowerment fuels momentum. Momentum sustains progress. Progress builds trust. Trust anchors identity. This chapter marks a shift. You are no longer reacting to your mind. You are leading it. This leadership is calm, firm, consistent. You do not need intensity every moment. You need clarity. Clarity directs attention. Attention shapes experience. Experience reinforces belief. Belief stabilizes behavior. This is how the mind learns obedience. Not through punishment, through repetition with authority. You are patient now. Patient with the process. Firm with the standard. That balance is rare and powerful. As you move forward, notice the difference. Thoughts feel lighter. Emotions settle faster. Focus returns more easily. This is not imagination. It is training working. The mind obeys the leader it trusts. You are earning that trust. One redirection at a time. The energy is building. The authority is settling. The transformation has begun. And it is not slowing down. Chapter 6, Focus Under Pressure. Pressure is not your enemy. It never was. Pressure is information. Pressure reveals what has been trained and what has not. Most people fear pressure because it exposes instability. It magnifies distraction. It accelerates emotion. It removes comfort. But pressure does not create weakness. It reveals it. And it also reveals strength. This chapter changes how you meet pressure. Not by escaping it. Not by overpowering it. But by standing still inside it. Calm becomes your weapon. When stress rises, the untrained mind scatters. Thoughts race. Breathing shortens. Attention fragments. This reaction feels automatic. But it is learned. You were trained to associate pressure with danger, with urgency, with loss of control. That association can be rewritten. Pressure does not mean something is wrong. Pressure means something matters. Leadership begins at this moment. Pressure separates those who react from those who respond. Reaction seeks relief. Response seeks alignment. Under pressure, most people speed up. They rush. They grasp. They speak more. Speed feels productive. But speed without direction multiplies mistakes. Stillness feels counterintuitive. But stillness creates clarity. This is the paradox of pressure. The higher the pressure, the greater the need for calm. Calm is not passive. Calm is controlled intensity. Think of a diamond. A diamond is not formed despite pressure. It is formed because of it. Pressure organizes matter. It removes weakness. It compresses structure. Without pressure, the diamond does not exist. You are the same. Pressure is shaping you. The question is not whether pressure will come. It always does. The question is whether you scatter under it or solidify. Focus under pressure is a skill. And like all skills, it is trained. Training begins with reframing. Stress is not a signal to panic. It is a signal to narrow attention. When pressure rises, attention must shrink. Not outward, inward. Instead of asking, what could go wrong? You ask, what matters right now? That question restores control. Focus does not mean ignoring reality. It means selecting priority. Pressure demands priority. This is where many fail. They attempt to manage everything. Leaders choose one thing, then the next. Under pressure, leadership is sequential. One breath, one decision, one action. Stillness in chaos is not freezing. It is grounding. Imagine an anchor in a storm. Waves crash. Wind howls. The surface is violent. But below, the anchor holds. The ship moves. But it does not drift. Stillness does not stop movement. It prevents loss of direction. You become that anchor. Not rigid. Rooted. Pressure tests this root. When chaos increases, you slow internally. Externally, you may move quickly. But inside, you remain steady. This steadiness is felt by others. Calm authority is contagious. People sense when someone is not panicking, not rushing, not fragmenting. They feel safer. They focus better. Leadership under pressure begins internally, then spreads outward. You cannot fake this calm. It comes from training attention. When stress rises, you return to fundamentals. Breath, posture, focus. Breath anchors the body. Posture anchors the mind. Focus anchors action. This triad stabilizes you. You do not eliminate stress. You organize it. Organization is power. When stress is organized, it becomes fuel. Fuel sharpens awareness. It heightens perception. It accelerates learning. This is why pressure often precedes growth. The mistake is fighting it. When you fight pressure, you waste energy. When you work with it, energy concentrates. Concentration creates precision. Precision creates effectiveness. Effectiveness builds confidence. Confidence reinforces calm. This cycle is self-sustaining. But it begins with one decision. You decide not to rush internally. Notice how pressure tries to pull attention everywhere at once. Multiple demands, multiple concerns, multiple outcomes. That pull is an illusion. Only one action can be taken at a time. Choose it. This choice collapses chaos. Chaos exists when everything feels urgent. Clarity exists when one thing matters. Under pressure, reduce scope. Not permanently, momentarily. You narrow focus to regain control. Once control returns, scope expands naturally. This is tactical calm, not avoidance, not denial. Precision. The untrained mind treats pressure as threat. The trained mind treats it as signal. A signal to lead. Leadership is not loud under pressure. It becomes quieter. Commands shorten. Movements simplify. Decisions become cleaner. Noise disappears. This is not accidental. The mind conserves energy by reducing excess. Pressure accelerates this process. You learn what is unnecessary. Distraction falls away quickly under pressure. If you do not cling to it, you stop multitasking. You stop overthinking. You act. Action under pressure must be grounded. Grounding comes from stillness. Stillness comes from trust. Trust that you can handle what is in front of you. Not everything. Just this. This moment. This decision. This breath. Pressure demands presence. Presence dissolves fear. Fear lives in imagined futures. Presence lives in immediate reality. When you are present, fear loses leverage. You are here. You are breathing. You are able. This realization calms the nervous system. Calm sharpens cognition. Sharper cognition improves outcomes. This is how calm becomes a weapon. Not a soft one, a precise one. Under pressure, emotions intensify. Anger, anxiety, urgency. You do not suppress them. You regulate them. Regulation means channeling. Anger becomes intensity. Anxiety becomes alertness. Urgency becomes focus. Emotion is energy. Energy directed is power. Energy scattered is chaos. You decide where it goes. This decision must be practiced before pressure arrives. That is what you are doing now. You are rehearsing calm. So when pressure hits, calm is available. This availability is leadership. Others may panic. You do not. Others may rush. You slow. Others may scatter. You center. This difference is felt immediately. Calm authority does not announce itself. It stabilizes the environment. People look to it instinctively. This is not dominance. It is reliability. Reliability is leadership. Pressure reveals leaders because pressure removes masks. Pretending collapses under stress. True structure holds. Structure is built through training. Training attention. Training breath. Training response. This chapter is not telling you to enjoy pressure. It is teaching you to use it. Use it to strip away excess. Use it to sharpen focus. Use it to solidify identity. Every time you remain calm under pressure, you reinforce a powerful belief. I can handle this. That belief compounds. Next time pressure rises, your nervous system remembers. It does not escalate as quickly. It stabilizes sooner. This is adaptation. Adaptation is strength. Over time, what once felt overwhelming feels manageable. Not because pressure decreases, because capacity increases. Capacity grows quietly. You do not notice it day to day, but under pressure, it reveals itself. This is the moment many surprise themselves. They realize they are steadier than before. They realize they are clearer. They realize they are leading. This realization builds confidence. Confidence under pressure is unshakable. Not arrogant. Grounded. You stop proving yourself. You start trusting yourself. Trust shortens reaction time. It reduces doubt. Doubt wastes energy. Under pressure, energy must be conserved. Conserved energy is directed energy. Directed energy produces results. Results reinforce calm. This cycle deepens. Now listen carefully. Pressure will test you again. It always will. But each time you meet it differently. You do not brace. You settle. You do not rush. You prioritize. You do not react. You respond. This is growth. This is leadership. This is focus under pressure. The storm may intensify. The waves may rise. But the anchor holds. And because it holds, movement continues with direction. This is not passive endurance. It is controlled advance. You move forward without losing yourself. That is the mark of someone who leads under pressure. Now feel this. The calm is not fragile. It is earned. Earned through awareness. Earned through practice. Earned through restraint. This calm stays with you. It becomes familiar. Pressure no longer signals danger. It signals opportunity. An opportunity to demonstrate mastery. An opportunity to solidify identity. An opportunity to rise. Say it quietly. Not for effect. For alignment. I rise. That affirmation is not defiance. It is composure. You rise by staying grounded. You rise by narrowing focus. You rise by choosing stillness over panic. This chapter closes with that truth. Pressure will come. When it does, you will not scatter. You will anchor. You will focus. You will lead. And the next level will demand even more of you. You are ready. Chapter 7, Killing Distraction at the Root. Distraction is not random. It never has been. It does not appear because you lack discipline. It does not stay because you lack intelligence. It exists because it serves a purpose. That purpose is avoidance. This truth changes everything. Most people try to fight distraction at the surface. They block apps. They set rules. They apply pressure. Sometimes it works. Often it fails. Because distraction is not the problem. It is the symptom. To remove distraction permanently, you must understand what it protects you from feeling. Distraction is avoidance in disguise. Pause here. Let that settle. Distraction is not about attention alone. It is about emotion. The mind does not wander without reason. It escapes. Escapes discomfort. Escapes uncertainty. Escapes effort. Escapes exposure. This chapter is not about judgment. There is nothing wrong with you. Avoidance is human, but unconscious avoidance becomes a prison. You are here to make it conscious. When distraction appears, ask one question. Not aggressively, curiously. What am I avoiding right now? The answer may surprise you. Sometimes it is boredom. Sometimes it is fear. Sometimes it is pressure. Sometimes it is self-doubt. Often it is growth. Growth is uncomfortable. Not because it is dangerous, because it is unfamiliar. Comfort feels safe because it is known. Growth feels risky because it requires change. The mind prefers familiarity over progress. This preference is automatic. Distraction offers immediate relief. A pause from effort. A break from responsibility. That relief feels good. Briefly. But relief is not resolution. Avoidance postpones discomfort. It does not remove it. What you avoid returns, often stronger. This is the cycle. Discomfort appears. Distraction removes awareness. Temporary relief follows. Discomfort returns with added weight. Over time, avoidance compounds. Tasks feel heavier. Focus feels harder. Confidence erodes. Not because you are incapable, because energy has been leaking. This chapter seals those leaks. Not by force, by understanding. When you understand the root, the behavior loses power. Distraction thrives in confusion. It weakens in clarity. Let us be precise. There are 3 primary emotional roots of distraction. The first is fear of effort. Effort demands energy. Energy requires commitment. Commitment creates exposure. Exposure invites evaluation. The mind avoids effort to avoid being measured. Measured by others. Measured by outcomes. Measured by yourself. This fear is subtle. It hides behind busyness. You stay occupied with small things to avoid facing meaningful ones. This is not laziness. It is protection. The second root is fear of inadequacy. You avoid focus because focus brings you face to face with your limits. When you concentrate deeply, weaknesses become visible. That visibility feels threatening. So the mind escapes. Not because you cannot improve, but because improvement requires seeing what needs work. Distraction protects self-image. The third root is emotional discomfort. Focus brings stillness. Stillness brings awareness. Awareness brings emotion. When you slow down, feelings surface. Unresolved frustration, doubt, restlessness, regret. Distraction keeps these emotions buried. Noise prevents feeling, but buried emotion does not disappear. It waits. This is why constant distraction creates exhaustion. You are running from something that follows. This chapter invites you to stop running. Not abruptly, consciously. You do not attack distraction. You outgrow it. The moment you see distraction clearly, it loses authority. Authority depends on secrecy. Once exposed, it weakens. Now notice something important. Distraction is not the enemy of focus. Comfort is. Comfort prioritizes ease over growth. Comfort avoids friction. Growth requires friction. This does not mean suffering. It means engagement. Engagement with effort. Engagement with uncertainty. Engagement with self. Comfort numbs engagement. Comfort says later. Growth says now. The conflict between comfort and growth defines this chapter. You do not need to remove comfort entirely. You need to choose when it belongs. Comfort after effort restores. Comfort before effort delays. The order matters. When comfort comes first, growth shrinks. When growth comes first, comfort deepens. Distraction flips the order. It offers comfort before growth. That feels good short-term. It weakens you long-term. This is not punishment. It is mechanics. Your nervous system adapts to what you repeat. If you repeat avoidance, tolerance for discomfort decreases. If you repeat engagement, capacity increases. Capacity changes how life feels. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. This is why killing distraction at the root is not about discipline alone. It is about emotional maturity. Maturity is the ability to stay present with discomfort without escaping. Presence does not mean enjoyment. It means endurance. Endurance builds strength. Strength builds confidence. Confidence reduces avoidance. This loop is upward. Now let us talk about noise. Noise is external distraction. Notifications. Information overload. Constant input. Noise feels stimulating. But stimulation is not nourishment. Noise fills space without substance. The more noise you consume, the less capacity you have for depth. Depth requires quiet. Quiet is uncomfortable when you are not used to it. Silence removes distraction, but it also removes escape. This is why silence feels heavy at first. In silence, thoughts surface. Emotions surface. Questions surface. Noise keeps these submerged. Conscious withdrawal from noise is not deprivation. It is recovery. Recovery of attention. Recovery of self-direction. You are not missing out. You are reclaiming. Reclaiming mental space. Reclaiming energy. Reclaiming clarity. Clarity reveals roots. Roots determine outcomes. When you reduce noise, distraction becomes easier to see. You notice when your hand reaches automatically. When your mind jumps impulsively. That noticing is power. Power comes from awareness. Awareness interrupts patterns. Interruption creates choice. Choice creates change. Now notice this. Distraction often appears right before progress. Just before you begin something meaningful. Just before you commit fully. Just before discomfort rises. That timing is not accidental. Distraction is the mind's attempt to preserve the familiar. Familiarity feels safe. Growth threatens familiarity. This is where courage enters. Courage is not loud. It is quiet persistence. Courage says, I will stay. Stay with effort. Stay with uncertainty. Stay with discomfort. Staying kills distraction. Not instantly, but steadily. Each time you stay, distraction loses credibility. It promises relief. But you learn that relief also comes from completion. Completion satisfies deeper than comfort. This satisfaction is different. It is calm, grounded, stable. Comfort pleasure fades quickly. Completion satisfaction lasts. Your nervous system learns this difference. Over time, it stops chasing shallow relief. It seeks depth. This is how distraction dies. Not through punishment, through replacement. Replacement with meaning. Meaning anchors attention. When you know why you are doing something, distraction weakens. Meaning does not eliminate discomfort. It makes it tolerable. You endure discomfort when purpose is clear. This chapter invites you to reconnect with purpose. Not dramatic purpose. Practical purpose. Why this task matters. Why this effort matters. Why this focus matters. Purpose does not need to be inspiring. It needs to be true. Truth grounds you. Grounding reduces anxiety. Anxiety fuels distraction. Reduce anxiety, distraction fades. Now comes the command. Cut it off. This is not aggression. It is boundary. Cut off the moment you recognize avoidance. Not the behavior alone. The story behind it. The story that says, I need a break. I will do it later. This can wait. Sometimes it can. Often it cannot. Discernment is required. You do not eliminate rest. You eliminate escape. Rest is intentional. Escape is impulsive. Rest restores energy. Escape drains it. Learn the difference. When distraction appears, pause. Return to center. Center is not motivation. It is alignment. Alignment between values and action. Ask yourself, what matters right now? Not emotionally. Objectively. Then act accordingly. This return does not need intensity. It needs consistency. Each return builds trust. Trust that you can face discomfort. Trust that you can stay present. Trust that you do not need escape. This trust is empowering. Empowerment replaces avoidance. Avoidance shrinks when confidence grows. Confidence grows through proof. Proof comes from action. Small actions count. Returning attention counts. Choosing growth counts. Staying counts. You are not trying to become perfect. You are becoming honest. Honest about what you avoid. Honest about why. Honesty dissolves shame. Shame fuels avoidance. Remove shame, distraction weakens further. This chapter is compassionate. There is no blame here. Avoidance protected you when you lacked tools. Now you have tools. Awareness, choice, presence. Use them gently, firmly. Distraction will not vanish overnight. It will retreat gradually. Each time you notice it and return, its influence decreases. Like a habit starved of fuel. Fuel is unconsciousness. You are becoming conscious. Conscious withdrawal from noise accelerates this process. You reduce input intentionally, not forever. Strategically, you create windows of quiet. In those windows, focus strengthens. Strength grows in controlled environments. Once strong, it transfers to chaos. This is training, not isolation. Preparation. As distraction weakens, something else appears. Clarity. Clarity feels different. It is not excitement. It is stability. With clarity, decisions feel easier. You stop second-guessing. Second-guessing feeds distraction. Decisiveness kills it. Decisiveness comes from values. Values clarify priority. Priority directs attention. This chain is powerful. Distraction loses ground at every link. This is why killing distraction at the root changes identity. You are no longer someone who avoids discomfort. You are someone who engages with it intelligently. That identity is strong. Strong people do not rush. They do not panic. They do not escape. They stay. Staying builds resilience. Resilience builds leadership. Leadership begins with self-leadership. You cannot lead others if you run from yourself. This chapter ends a pattern of escaping what matters. You are not forcing focus. You are removing what blocks it. Once the block is removed, flow returns naturally. Focus feels less strained, less forced. It feels earned. Earned focus lasts. As this chapter closes, notice your state. Calmer, clearer, more grounded. Distraction is losing its grip. Not because you fought it, because you understood it. And understanding dissolves fear. Fear fuels avoidance. Without fear, distraction has no purpose. Return to center. Again and again. This return is becoming natural. The noise is quieter. The path is clearer. And the next level will demand even deeper discipline. You are prepared for it. You are not running anymore. You are choosing. And that changes everything. Chapter 8: The Discipline of Consistency. Motivation is loud. Consistency is quiet. Motivation arrives with emotion. Consistency arrives with commitment. For a long time, you were taught to wait. Wait until you felt ready. Wait until you felt inspired. Wait until conditions were perfect. That waiting cost you more than you realized. Motivation is unreal. Whyable because it depends on mood. Mood depends on circumstance. Circumstance is rarely stable. Consistency does not wait for permission. Consistency moves. This chapter marks a shift. You stop chasing motivation. You begin building self-trust. Self-trust is not confidence. It is reliability. Reliability is doing what you said you would do, especially when no one is watching and nothing feels exciting. Consistency is proof of self-respect. Not loud respect. Quiet respect. The kind you feel internally. When you keep promises to yourself. Small promises. Daily promises. This is where most people misunderstand discipline. They think it requires intensity. They think it requires force. It does not. It requires standards. Standards remove emotion from action. When standards exist, you do not ask how you feel. You act according to what you decided. This simplifies life. Consistency is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters. Again and again and again. Small daily standards are powerful because they are sustainable. A small standard repeated daily outperforms rare bursts of intensity. This is not theory. It is mechanics. The nervous system adapts to repetition. The mind trusts patterns, not promises. Every time you follow through, trust grows. Not trust in the world. Trust in yourself. That trust changes how you show up. You stop doubting your ability to continue. Because you have evidence. Evidence replaces hope. Hope is emotional. Evidence is stabilizing. Stability creates momentum. Momentum does not come from speed. It comes from continuity. Continuity creates identity. Identity answers questions before they arise. When identity is clear, consistency becomes natural. You are not forcing yourself to act. You are acting in alignment. This is where discipline becomes lighter. The old version of you relied on motivation. The new version relies on standards. Standards do not fluctuate. Standards do not negotiate. They simply exist. You wake up knowing what is expected. You move without debate. Debate drains energy. Decision preserves it. This is self-respect in action. Self-respect does not argue with comfort. It honors commitment. Comfort asks, "Can we skip today?" Self-respect answers, "We do what we said." Not aggressively, firmly. This firmness is calming. It removes internal conflict. Internal conflict is exhausting. When conflict disappears, energy returns. You feel steadier, clearer, more grounded. This is the reward of consistency. Not excitement. Confidence. Confidence that does not spike and crash. Confidence that remains. Small daily standards reinforce identity quietly. Each completed action sends a message inward. This is who I am. That message compounds. One day does not change identity. A week begins to. Months lock it in. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. Intensity impresses. Consistency transforms. Transformation does not announce itself. It accumulates. Day after day. Action after action. The long-term vision holds this together. Consistency without vision becomes mechanical. Vision without consistency becomes fantasy. You need both. Vision gives direction. Consistency provides movement. Vision answers why. Consistency answers how. When vision is clear, consistency feels meaningful. You are not repeating tasks aimlessly. You are building something larger than today. This perspective reduces impatience. Impatience comes from short timelines. When you think long-term, small actions feel significant because you see where they lead. This is maturity. Maturity is understanding that growth is gradual, not slow. Gradual growth lasts. This chapter invites you to adopt a longer lens, not years into the future, but beyond today. Today is a single tile. Consistency lays tiles. Over time, a structure appears. You do not see it forming day by day, but one day you look back and realize it is solid. This solidity feels different. You stop questioning your capacity. You start trusting your process. Trust reduces anxiety. Anxiety disrupts focus. Consistency stabilizes focus. Stabilized focus increases output. Output reinforces belief. Belief strengthens identity. This cycle feeds itself. Now listen carefully. Consistency is not perfection. Perfection breaks under pressure. Consistency adapts. There will be days when output is lower. Days when energy dips. Consistency does not demand identical performance. It demands presence. Presence is showing up, even at reduced capacity. This flexibility is strength. Rigid systems collapse. Adaptive systems endure. Consistency is adaptive discipline. You maintain the standard, but you adjust the form. The commitment remains. The expression evolves. This prevents burnout. Burnout comes from forcing intensity without alignment. Consistency with alignment is sustainable. Sustainability is power. Power that lasts. This is where confidence elevates. Not confidence that brags. Confidence that rests. You feel it in your posture. In why? Our pace. In your decisions. You stop rushing outcomes. Rushing signals doubt. Consistency signals trust. Trust that results will come because the process is intact. This trust removes desperation. Desperation clouds judgment. Calm clarity sharpens it. This is leadership. Leaders do not depend on mood. They depend on systems. Systems built on standards. Standards reinforced by consistency. You are building such a system internally. An internal operating system. It tells you what to do when motivation is absent. This is critical because motivation will be absent often. Not because you are failing, because you are human. Consistency carries you through those gaps. Gaps do not derail you anymore. They become neutral. You continue. This continuation builds confidence faster than success. Success can be external. Continuation is internal. Internal wins matter more. They are portable. You carry them everywhere. Now the rhythm accelerates. This is the transformation peak. Listen closely. Faster now. Clear commands. No hesitation. Standards set. Decisions made. Move. Show up. Do the work. Again. 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 Not perfectly. Consistently. You do not wait to feel ready. You act because it is time. You do not negotiate with comfort. You honor commitment. You do not overthink. You execute. This is elevated confidence, not excitement. Certainty. Certainty that you will do what is required. This certainty changes how obstacles feel. Obstacles stop feeling personal. They become logistical. Logistics can be solved. Emotion drains energy. Structure preserves it. Consistency is structure. Structure frees mental space. Free mental space improves creativity. Creativity improves solutions. Solutions reinforce confidence. Confidence strengthens leadership. Leadership starts internally. You are leading yourself now. Not by pressure, by standard. This leadership feels calm. Calm does not mean slow. It means controlled. Controlled movement compounds. Compounding is invisible at first, then undeniable. This is why consistency is underestimated. Its power is delayed. Delayed power is more dangerous than immediate force. Immediate force burns out. Delayed power accumulates. You are choosing accumulation. This choice separates you from the crowd. Most people want quick change. Few commit to sustained progress. Sustained progress wins. Not occasionally. Consistently. This chapter is teaching you patience with purpose. Purpose prevents stagnation. You are not waiting. You are building. Building quietly. Every small action reinforces identity. Identity answers doubts before they arise. Doubt weakens consistency. Identity strengthens it. This is why consistency is self-respect in motion. You respect yourself enough to keep promises, even when no one notices. Especially then. This builds integrity. Integrity is alignment between word and action. Alignment creates inner peace. Inner peace stabilizes focus. Focus improves results. Results validate process. This cycle deepens. Now notice the shift. You no longer rely on emotional highs. You rely on rhythm. Rhythm is repeatable. Rhythm carries you forward. Life becomes less dramatic, more effective. Effectiveness replaces excitement. Excitement fades quickly. Effectiveness lasts. You feel proud in a quieter way. Not because something big happened, because something steady is happening. This pride is grounding. It strengthens resolve. Resolve fuels consistency. Consistency reinforces resolve. This loop tightens. You are becoming dependable to yourself. Dependability is rare and powerful when you know you will follow through. Fear loses leverage. Fear depends on uncertainty. Consistency removes uncertainty. You know what you will do. That knowledge calms the nervous system. Calm improves performance. Performance builds confidence. Confidence stabilizes identity. This is long-term growth, not dramatic. Durable. This chapter is not asking for more effort. It is asking for less negotiation, less internal debate, more action. Action does not need enthusiasm. It needs alignment. Alignment comes from standards. standards upheld consistently. Become identity. Identity drives behavior. This is the formula. Simple, demanding, effective. Now feel the elevated confidence. Not excitement. Strength. Strength that does not waver daily. Strength that shows up quietly. You are no longer chasing motivation. You are building trust. Trust in your ability to continue. That trust carries you forward, even when the path grows longer. And it will. The next chapters will demand more depth, more endurance, more precision. You are ready for that, because consistency has prepared you. Prepared you not to rush, not to quit, not to panic. Prepared you to continue. And continuation is how great things are built. One day at a time. One standard at a time. One decision repeated. This is not glamorous. It is powerful. And it is becoming who you are. The momentum is no longer fragile. It is stable, quiet, relentless, and it is hurrying you forward. Chapter 9, Becoming Unshakable. There comes a moment when you realize something has changed. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. You notice it in how you respond, in how you pause, in how you no longer feel pulled apart by every reaction, every opinion, every outcome. You are no longer easily moved. This chapter locks that state in. Unshakable does not mean emotionless. It does not mean rigid. It does not mean disconnected. It means anchored. It means you trust yourself deeply enough that external movement no longer controls your internal state. Trust is the foundation here. Not trust in circumstances. Not trust in people. Trust in yourself. When you trust yourself, nothing shakes you. Most instability comes from one source. Doubt. Not doubt about ability alone. Doubt about direction. Doubt about decision. Doubt about self. Doubt creates hesitation. Hesitation creates emotional swings. Emotional swings create instability. Stability is not found by controlling the world. It is found by stabilizing the self. That stabilization begins internally. Emotional resilience is not toughness. It is flexibility with strength. A rigid structure breaks under pressure. A resilient one absorbs and adapts. You are learning to absorb without collapsing, to adapt without losing yourself. This is emotional maturity. Maturity does not suppress emotion. It understands it. Understanding creates space. Space creates choice. Choice is power. When something unexpected happens, notice the difference. The old version of you reacted quickly. Emotion first. Meaning second. The new version pauses. That pause is everything. In the pause you assess. You breathe. You choose. Choice replaces impulse. Impulse is driven by fear or desire. Choice is driven by values. Values stabilize identity. Identity stabilizes emotion. This is the chain. You no longer rise or fall with every outcome. Outcomes matter, but they do not define you. This is detachment. Detachment is often misunderstood. Detachment is not indifference. It is clarity. You care deeply, but you do not cling. Clinging creates anxiety. Anxiety creates instability. Detachment allows full effort without emotional collapse. You give your best. Then you release the result. This release is strength. When you attach your worth to outcomes, you become fragile. Every result threatens identity. When identity is independent of outcomes, you become grounded. Grounded people are calm under pressure. They are consistent. They are reliable. This reliability builds self-trust. Self-trust is built through experience, not positive thinking, not affirmation alone, through seeing yourself handle difficulty. Every time you remain composed under stress, trust grows. Every time you recover quickly from disappointment, trust deepens. This trust is cumulative. It settles into your nervous system. You stop bracing for collapse. You know you can handle what comes. This knowledge changes everything. Fear loses leverage. Fear depends on uncertainty about your capacity. When capacity is proven, fear softens. Not eliminated, but managed. Fear becomes information instead of command. This is emotional resilience. Resilience is the ability to return to center quickly, not never leaving center. Returning. Life will move you. People will challenge you. Outcomes will surprise you. Resilience is measured by recovery. How fast do you return to clarity? How fast do you regain composure? How fast do you remember who you are? These answers define stability. Unshakable does not mean unaffected. It means unreduced. Your core remains intact. That core is built on internal certainty. Internal certainty is quiet. It does not argue. It does not prove. It does not perform. It simply knows. Knowing replaces seeking. When you know who you are and what you stand for, external validation becomes optional. Optional validation reduces emotional volatility. Volatility drains energy. Stability conserves it. Energy conserved becomes available for creation. Creation strengthens identity. Identity deepens certainty. This is a reinforcing loop. Now notice this shift. You are less reactive to praise, less reactive to criticism. Not because you do not care, because you are not dependent. Dependence creates emotional spikes. Spikes exhaust you. Detachment smooths the curve. Your emotional range becomes steadier. This steadiness is felt in your body. Breathing slows. Muscles relax. Posture stabilizes. The body mirrors the mind. A stable mind produces a stable body. A stable body supports a stable mind. This feedback loop strengthens resilience. You no longer need to protect your ego constantly. Protection creates tension. Tension creates fatigue. Fatigue increases reactivity. Unshakable people are less tired emotionally. They rest inside themselves. That rest is not passivity. It is confidence. Confidence built on evidence. Evidence of self-control. Evidence of recovery. Evidence of endurance. Endurance is the quiet foe. RM of strength. It is not dramatic. It is reliable. Reliability builds leadership. People trust those who are stable. They feel safe around them. Safety is not softness. It is predictability of character. Predictable character is rare and powerful. Now consider outcomes. Outcomes are unpredictable. No matter how skilled you are, results vary. If your emotional state depends on results, you will live on a roller coaster. Highs followed by crashes. That cycle is exhausting. Detachment breaks the cycle. You still care about outcomes. You still pursue excellence. But you no longer tie your identity to success or failure. Success becomes feedback. Failure becomes feedback. Feedback informs adjustment. Adjustment improves process. Process improvement increases long-term success. This is rational. Emotion does not disappear. It becomes regulated. Regulated emotion supports strategic thinking. Strategic thinking improves decision-making. Decision-making reinforces confidence. Confidence stabilizes emotion. This is maturity in motion. Now listen closely. Becoming unshakable does not happen through avoidance of difficulty. It happens through exposure. Exposure to challenge. Exposure to disappointment. Exposure to uncertainty. Each exposure handled well builds trust. Trust in your ability to remain centered. Centering is not denial. It is acceptance with control. You accept reality. Then you act. Acceptance reduces resistance. Resistance drains energy. Energy conserved becomes usable. Usable energy fuels progress. This is how emotional resilience supports performance. Performance improves when emotion is stable. Stable emotion allows sustained focus. Sustained focus creates depth. Depth produces mastery. Mastery reinforces certainty. This is the path. Now reflect. Think about moments that once shook you. Criticism, delays, unexpected setbacks. Notice how they feel now. Less threatening, less personal. This change did not happen overnight. It happened through practice. Practice of returning to center. Practice of regulating response. Practice of trusting yourself. Trust does not require perfection. It requires honesty. Honesty about your limits. Honesty about your effort. When you know you gave your best, outcomes lose their sting. Integrity cushions disappointment. Integrity is alignment between values and action. When you act with integrity, you respect yourself. Self-respect stabilizes emotion. This is why consistency mattered earlier. Consistency built integrity. Integrity now supports unshakability. These chapters are not separate. They build on each other. Discipline created reliability. Reliability built trust. Trust now creates stability. This stability is internal. It does not depend on praise. Praise can feel good, but it does not control you. Criticism can sting, but it does not derail you. You listen. You assess. You decide. Decision replaces reaction. This is leadership. Leaders are not unfeeling. They are regulated. Regulation allows perspective. Perspective allows wise action. Wise action earns respect. Respect reinforces confidence. Confidence stabilizes further. Now notice the deeper layer. Detachment from outcomes does not reduce ambition. It refines it. You aim high without desperation. Desperation clouds judgment. Calm ambition sharpens it. You pursue excellence patiently. Patience reduces error. Reduced error improves results. This patience feels powerful, not passive. It feels controlled. Control without rigidity. Flexibility with direction. This balance is rare. You are developing it. Now feel the inner certainty. Not excitement. Not adrenaline. Certainty. Certainty does not shout. It hums quietly beneath action. You feel it when you commit without hesitation. When you stop second-guessing. When you move forward even without reassurance. This certainty is built from self-trust. Self-trust comes from lived experience. You have evidence now. Evidence that you can focus. Evidence that you can endure. Evidence that you can recover. Recovery is crucial. Everyone falls. Unshakable people rise faster. They do not dwell. Dwelling feeds doubt. They process, adjust, move. This movement restores momentum. Momentum stabilizes emotion. Emotion supports momentum. This loop tightens. Now listen to this carefully. Being unshakable does not mean nothing affects you. It means nothing owns you. Ownership is the difference. You experience emotion, but emotion does not command behavior. You notice reaction, but reaction does not decide direction. Direction is chosen. Choice is power. This power feels calm. Calm power is intimidating, not because it threatens, because it cannot be manipulated easily. Unshakable people are hard to provoke. Provocation fails when ego is not hungry. Hunger for validation creates vulnerability. Detachment removes that hunger. You no longer need to prove. You simply act. Action speaks. Results follow. And if results do not follow immediately, you remain steady. This steadiness is the victory. Now integrate this. You wake up grounded. You work with focus. You handle setbacks without collapse. This is not luck. It is training. Training of attention, training of emotion, training of response. All of it has led here, to this internal stability. This stability allows long-term effort. Long-term effort creates greatness. Greatness is not intensity. It is endurance with direction. Endurance requires emotional stability. You are building that now. This chapter locks it in. Not with force, with understanding. You understand why detachment matters, why trust matters, why self-respect matters. Understanding stabilizes behavior. Behavior reinforces identity. Identity strengthens certainty. Now let the affirmations settle. Not shouted, layered, quietly present. I am ready. Ready does not mean eager. It means prepared. Prepared to face outcomes without collapse. Prepared to lead yourself under pressure. Prepared to continue when things are unclear. Now the next layer. I rise. Rising does not always mean upward movement. Sometimes it means standing firm. Sometimes it means recovering. Sometimes it means choosing calm over reaction. You rise by staying centered. You rise by trusting yourself. You rise by not abandoning your values under pressure. This is the deepest form of elevation. Now feel the stillness, the sense that something is solid. That solidness is you, not your circumstances, not your results. You, this unshakable core will be tested. It always is. But testing strengthens what is already built. You are not fragile anymore. You are flexible and strong. That combination is powerful. As this chapter closes, notice your internal state. Less noise, less urgency, more certainty. This certainty will carry you forward. The next chapters will ask for more responsibility, more leadership, more endurance. You are ready for that, because when you trust yourself, nothing shakes you, and that trust is now part of who you are. Chapter 10, Focus as Leadership. There is a moment when focus stops being personal. It crosses a threshold. Quietly, you no longer focus only to improve your own life. You focus because others feel it when you enter a room. Your presence changes rooms, not because you speak more, not because you assert dominance, but because your attention is stable. Focused people lead without noise. Leadership is often misunderstood as expression, as visibility, as control over others. Real leadership begins earlier. It begins with control over attention. When your attention is disciplined, your behavior becomes predictable. When behavior is predictable, trust forms. When trust forms, influence follows. This is the progression. Influence does not need volume. It needs consistency. This chapter marks the expansion of focus beyond the self. Your internal discipline now radiates outward. People sense it immediately. They sense when someone is not scattered. They sense when someone is not reacting. They sense when someone is internally led. Internal leadership becomes external authority. Authority without force. Silent authority. Silent authority is not passive. It is decisive. Decisiveness is clarity in motion. When you are focused, decisions simplify. Not because situations are easy, but because noise is absent. Noise complicates. Focus clarifies. Clarity removes hesitation. Hesitation weakens leadership. Leaders hesitate less not because they know everything, but because they trust their process. Trust in process creates decision clarity. Decision clarity is contagious. When one person is clear, others stabilize. They stop guessing. They stop overreacting. They align. This alignment is leadership, not positional leadership, presence-based leadership. You do not need a title to lead. You need focus. Focus anchors you. Anchored people create stability. Stability is rare and valuable. Most environments are reactive, urgent, emotionally charged. In such environments, calm stands out. Calm does not mean slow. It means deliberate. Deliberate movement communicates confidence. Confidence invites trust. Trust amplifies influence. This is how leadership emerges naturally, without announcements, without self-promotion, without explanation. Focused people lead without noise. They do not rush to fill silence. They allow silence to work. Silence creates space. In that space, others listen. Listening is not demanded. It is earned through presence. Presence is full attention applied to the moment. When you are present, people feel seen, not analyzed, not managed. Seen, that feeling disarms defensiveness. Defensiveness blocks cooperation. Presence opens it. This is emotional intelligence expressed through focus. You are not multitasking people. You are not partially listening. You are there. That alone differentiates you. In a distracted world, attention is respect. Respect builds authority. Authority held quietly is powerful. This authority does not need to assert itself. It is felt. Now cons. Either responsibility. Leadership carries responsibility. Many avoid leadership because they fear responsibility. They fear blame. They fear exposure. They fear failure. But responsibility without focus is overwhelming. Responsibility with focus is manageable. Focus narrows scope. You do not carry everything at once. You carry what is in front of you. One decision, one action, one outcome. This containment makes responsibility lighter, not easier, lighter, because weight is distributed intentionally. This is responsibility without fear. Fear arises when responsibility feels infinite. Focus makes it finite. Finite tasks are solvable. Solvable tasks reduce anxiety. Reduced anxiety improves judgment. Improved judgment strengthens leadership. This cycle reinforces itself. Leadership is not knowing all answers. It is holding direction under uncertainty. Direction requires focus. Without focus, uncertainty paralysis. With focus, uncertainty becomes navigable. You do not eliminate unknowns. You move through them deliberately. Others follow this movement. They follow not because you command, but because you are steady. Steadiness is magnetic. People want stability, especially under pressure. Your calm focus provides that. This chapter introduces a subtle shift. You stop asking, "How do I stay focused?" You start asking, "How does my focus affect others?" That question changes behavior. You become more intentional with attention. You stop wasting it, not just for productivity, but for responsibility. Your attention now carries weight. Where you look, things move. Where you listen, things settle. Where you act, momentum builds. This is influence. Influence without manipulation. Influence without noise. Influence through example. Example is the strongest form of leadership. Because it cannot be argued, you do not tell people to focus. You demonstrate it. You do not demand discipline. You embody it. Embodiment removes resistance. Resistance arises when words and behavior do not align. Alignment dissolves it. Your alignment is now visible, not because you display it, but because it stabilizes the environment. People adjust around you. They slow down. They clarify. They prioritize. This adjustment is unconscious. That is true influence. Influence that bypasses debate. Now notice decision-making. Focused leaders make fewer decisions, but better ones. They eliminate unnecessary options. Options create friction. Friction slows execution. Execution matters more than options. Focused leaders ask, "What matters most right now?" Then they act. This simplicity reduces error. Error often comes from overcomplication. Overcomplication is a symptom of scattered attention. Focus simplifies. Simplicity accelerates. Acceleration with control is powerful. Uncontrolled acceleration is chaos. This is why focus is leadership. It governs speed. You know when to move quickly and when to pause. Pausing is not weakness. It is calibration. Calibration prevents costly mistakes. This discernment builds trust. People trust leaders who do not overreact. Overreaction signals insecurity. Calm response signals competence. Competence earns authority. Authority reduces friction. Frictionless environments perform better. This is systemic leadership. You are influencing systems now, not just outcomes. Systems shaped by focus outperform those shaped by urgency. Urgency burns energy. Focus channels it. Channeling energy increases efficiency. Efficiency compounds over time. This compounding creates lasting impact. Now the transformation peak approaches. This is where leadership locks in. Minimal words, high certainty. Listen closely. You do not need to convince. You decide. You do not need to rush. You act. You do not need to react. You respond. Command tone now, not loud. Exact. Here, now, this, that. Decide. Move. Hold. Stop. Go. Clarity replaces excess. When you speak, words land. Because you do not speak often. Scarcity increases value. Value commands attention. Attention amplifies influence. This is how leadership feels. Not dramatic, grounded, certain. You do not explain every decision. Explanation invites negotiation. Negotiation slows momentum. Momentum is precious. You protect it. This protection is leadership. You are responsible for direction. Direction must remain clear. Clarity requires boundaries. Boundaries are set through focus. You say no more often, not emotionally, strategically. No protects yes. Yes must be protected to matter. Focused leaders guard their attention fiercely, not selfishly, responsibly, because their attention affects others. Wasted attention wastes collective energy. This awareness matures you. You stop indulging distractions, not because you cannot, but because you choose not to. Choice signals authority. Authority inspires confidence. Confidence stabilizes groups. Groups stabilized by focus outperform those driven by emotion. This is observable. You see it. You feel it. Now feel the shift in your presence. You are a space and notice more. Not because you are scanning anxiously, because you are attentive. Attentiveness reads the environment accurately. Accuracy informs response. Response becomes effective. Effectiveness builds credibility. Credibility strengthens leadership. This chain is precise. Leadership is precision applied consistently. Not charisma, not personality. Precision. Precision comes from focus. Focus now defines how you operate. You are not louder. You are clearer. You are not more aggressive. You are more certain. Certainty calms others. Calm improves performance. Performance validates leadership. This is a quiet feedback loop. Now consider fear. Leadership often activates fear. Fear of being wrong. Fear of being judged. Fear of letting others down. Focus dissolves fear by narrowing scope. You stop carrying imaginary outcomes. You deal with what is real. Real problems can be addressed. Imagined problems create paralysis. Focused leaders distinguish between the two. This discernment is learned. You have learned it. Now you apply it beyond yourself. Responsibility without fear becomes possible. You accept responsibility because you trust your process. Trust comes from consistency. Consistency has already been built. That foundation holds now. You are not guessing your way through leadership. You are applying principles. Principles do not panic. They guide. This guidance reduces emotional load. Reduced emotional load increases endurance. Endurance is required for leadership. Leadership is not a sprint. It is sustained presence over time. Your focus makes that possible. Now notice something subtle. You are less reactive to others' emotions. Not detached. Steady. You do not absorb chaos. You contain it. Containment stabilizes groups. Groups need containment to function. You provide it through presence. Presence is your leadership tool. Not control. Not intimidation. Presence. Presence communicates. I am here, I am steady, we will proceed. That message does not need words. It is felt. Now, minimal words again. Clear commands. Hold. Wait. Proceed. Enough. These words work because they are backed by focus. Without focus, commands sound hollow. With focus, they carry weight. Weight comes from congruence. Congruence between inner state and outer action. You are congruent now. This congruence is rare and respected. People follow what is congruent. They resist what is performative. You are not performing leadership. You are practicing it. Practice builds mastery. Mastery deepens confidence. Confidence stabilizes leadership. This chapter marks that maturity. You are no longer focused only for yourself. You are focused because others depend on your steadiness. Even if they never say it. Even if you never lead formally. Your focus affects environments. Every environment. Your home. Your work. Your interactions. Focus changes tone. Tone influences behavior. Behavior shapes outcomes. This ripple is real. You are responsible for it. Responsibility, accepted calmly, is power. Power without ego. Power without noise. This is the leadership that lasts. Not situational leadership. Character leadership. Character is what remains under pressure. Focus protects character. When stressed, you do not abandon values. You rely on them. Reliance builds trust. Trust creates followership. Followership emerges naturally. You do not demand it. You earn it. Now feel the certainty. Not excitement. Certainty. Certainty does not need reinforcement. It holds. This certainty is the result of everything built so far. Discipline. Silence. Consistency. Resilience. All of it converges here. Into leadership. Leadership that does not announce itself. Leadership that does not rush. Leadership that does not panic. Focused people lead without noise. You are becoming one of them. The next chapters will deepen responsibility further. They will demand completion. They will demand endurance. They will demand example. You are ready. Not because you feel powerful, but because you are stable. And stability is the foundation of real leadership. The room is quieter when you are focused. The path is clearer when you decide. The outcome is stronger when you lead. This is not an ending. It is an expansion. Your focus now belongs to more than you. And you will carry it forward. Quietly, certainly, relentlessly. Chapter 11, The Person Who Finishes. There is a quiet line that divides people. It does not separate talent. It does not separate intelligence. It separates outcomes. On one side are those who begin. On the other are those who finish. Most people live their lives starting things. Ideas, plans, intentions. Few live as finishers. This chapter draws that line clearly. And you step across it. Finishers are not more gifted. They are more decided. Finishers win because they do not negotiate. Negotiation is the silent killer of completion. It whispers. It delays. It offers alternatives. Negotiation sounds reasonable, but it erodes commitment. Every unfinished task leaves residue. Not failure. Doubt. Doubt accumulates quietly. You feel it when starting something new feels heavy. You feel it when motivation fades faster than it should. You feel it when trust in yourself weakens. This chapter ends that pattern. Not with intensity, with identity. Completion becomes who you are, not what you try to do, what you expect of yourself. And endurance is the core skill here. Not explosive endurance, sustained endurance. The ability to continue when the initial energy fades. Most people are trained for beginnings. Few are trained for the middle. The middle is where things slow down, where progress feels less visible, where doubt tries to re-enter. The middle is where dreamers stop, not because they are incapable, because they are unprepared. Finishers are prepared for the middle. They expect resistance. They expect boredom. They expect fatigue. Expectation removes surprise. Surprise fuels quitting. When you expect discomfort, it loses power. Endurance psychology is simple. You do not rely on feeling good. You rely on decision. Decision carries you through emotional dips. Emotion fluctuates. Decision remains. This chapter teaches you how to remove escape routes. Escape routes are not always obvious. They are not dramatic exits. They are small allowances. I will finish later. I can pause here. I will come back to this. Sometimes those statements are valid. Often they are avoidance. Finishers reduce optionality. They narrow choices. Fewer choices create less friction. Friction slows progress. Progress sustains motivation. This is the paradox. People wait for motivation to continue. Finishers continue to generate motivation. Motivation follows movement. Movement follows decision. Decision must be protected. Escape routes weaken decision. You do not need harshness. You need clarity. Clarity about what is non-negotiable. Finishers decide what does not get reconsidered. Once decided, it becomes standard. Standards simplify behavior. You are no longer asking, "Should I finish?" A finisher finishes. That statement removes debate. Debate is where energy leaks. Finishers conserve energy by eliminating debate. This conservation is crucial. Endurance is not about pushing harder. It is about wasting less. Wasted energy comes from internal conflict. Internal conflict disappears when identity is clear. Identity is the foundation here. You are no longer someone who hopes to complete things. You are the person who finishes. That identity changes how resistance feels. Resistance no longer feels personal. It feels expected. Expected resistance does not discourage. It confirms progress. When resistance appears, you know you are in the middle. The middle is where identity is tested. Not skill. Not talent. Identity. Do you finish who you said you were becoming? Finishers answer yes through action. Completion is not dramatic. It is quiet. It often happens when no one is watching. That is where self-trust is built. Self-trust is earned through completion. Every finished task reinforces belief. I follow through. That belief stabilizes confidence. Confidence built on completion is unshakable because it is based on evidence. This is different from confidence built on praise. Praise fades. Evidence remains. Finishers rely on evidence. Evidence of endurance. Evidence of discipline. Evidence of holding on when it is easier to let go. This holding builds strength. Strength that does not rush. Finishers understand timing. They know when to slow pace without stopping. Stopping is different from resting. Rest is intentional. Stopping is abandonment. Finishers rest strategically. They do not quit emotionally. Quitting often happens before action stops. Finishers remove emotional quitting. They continue even when enthusiasm disappears. This continuation is the defining difference. Now consider escape routes again. Escape routes often sound responsible. I need balance. I should step back. I don't want to burn out. Sometimes those statements are true, but finishers examine intent. Is this recovery or retreat? Recovery returns you to the task stronger. Retreat disconnects you from it. Finishers recover without disconnecting. They stay psychologically attached to completion. That attachment is not obsession. It is responsibility. Responsibility is ownership. Ownership drives completion. When you own something, you finish it. Ownership removes excuses. Excuses are negotiations. Finishers do not negotiate. This does not mean cruelty towards self. It means clarity about commitment. You chose this path. Choice creates obligation. Obligation is not burden when it aligns with values. It becomes purpose. Purpose fuels endurance. Now feel this shift. You stop romanticizing beginnings. Beginnings feel good, but finishers respect endings. Endings are where meaning consolidates. Without completion, effort scatters. Completion concentrates effort into outcome. Outcome reinforces identity. Identity fuels future effort. This cycle is powerful. Many people sabotage it by quitting early. Not because they cannot continue, because they allow doubt to negotiate. Finishers treat doubt differently. They acknowledge it, then continue. Doubt does not disappear before completion. Completion makes doubt irrelevant. This is important. Do not wait for doubt to go away. It will not. Finish anyway. Initiators finish with doubt present. That is strength. Finishers understand that confidence is not required to complete. Commitment is. Now listen carefully. Completion is not about perfection. Perfection delays completion. Finishers aim for done, not flawless. Flawless can be refined later. Unfinished cannot. This mindset accelerates progress. You move forward without paralysis. You accept imperfection in exchange for momentum. Momentum keeps identity intact. Identity is fragile when tasks remain open. Open loops drain mental energy. Finishers close loops. Closing loops restores energy. You feel lighter after finishing. Not euphoric. Clear. Clarity feels good. Clarity reduces anxiety. Anxiety interferes with focus. Completion restores focus. This is why finishing matters beyond outcomes. It cleans the mind. Now consider endurance again. Endurance is the ability to tolerate monotony, not excitement. Most meaningful work includes monotony. Repetition, refinement, continuation. Finishers accept monotony as part of mastery. Mastery is not glamorous. It is consistent execution. Execution over time builds expertise. Expertise reinforces identity. Identity strengthens endurance. This loop sustains itself. Finishers do not need external pressure. They generate internal pressure through standards. Standards held quietly are powerful. They keep you moving when no one is checking. This is integrity. Integrity is alignment between commitment and action. Integrity stabilizes self-respect. Self-respect fuels endurance. This is the psychological engine of finishing. Now the commands become important. Short, firm, clear, finish. Not tomorrow. Not eventually. Finish. Hold. When discomfort rises. when boredom appears, when doubt whispers. Hold. Stand firm. Not aggressively. Rooted. Standing firm is not rigidity. It is refusal to abandon direction. Direction matters more than speed. Finishers may slow down. They do not turn back. Turning back breaks momentum. Finishers preserve momentum even at reduced pace. Reduced pace still moves forward. Forward movement sustains belief. Belief fuels endurance. This is the architecture of completion. Now the intensity rises. This is the transformation point. The identity locks in. Listen. You have started many things before. This time is different. Not because circumstances changed. Because you changed. You do not negotiate anymore. You do not wait for feeling. You do not abandon commitments quietly. You finish. Finish what you begin. Finish what you promise. Finish what you decide. This does not make you rigid. It makes you reliable. Reliability is rare and powerful. People trust finishers. They trust their word. They trust their presence. They trust their follow-through. This trust expands influence. Influence creates responsibility. Responsibility deepens identity. This is leadership through completion. Now notice how your internal dialogue changes. The voice that once said, "Maybe later," loses authority. A new voice speaks. "We continue." That voice is calm, not demanding, certain. Certainty removes debate. Debate wastes energy. Finishers conserve energy for execution. Execution completes cycles. Completion releases energy. This is why finishers often feel calmer. They carry fewer unresolved commitments, less mental clutter, more clarity. Clarity improves focus. Focus accelerates finishing. This feedback loop tightens. Now reflect on unfinished things in your life. Not with guilt, with honesty. Notice how they feel. Heavy, distracting, unsettled. Imagine closing them, one by one, not all at once. Finishers prioritize. They choose what matters most. Then they finish that. Completion builds confidence to tackle the next. This sequential approach prevents overwhelm. Overwhelm is often the result of too many open loops. Finishers close loops deliberately. This is strategy, not force. Strategy sustains endurance. Now understand this deeply. Finishing is an act of self-trust. When you finish, you prove to yourself that you can be relied upon. This proof is invaluable. It changes how you approach future challenges. You start believing, "I will handle this." That belief is earned. Earned belief is stable. Stable belief supports long-term goals. Long-term goals require finishing. This chapter is about becoming that person. The person who finishes. Not occasionally. Consistently. Finishers are not obsessed with results. They are committed to completion. Results follow completion. Completion builds mastery. Mastery creates excellence. Excellence is sustained over time. This is the long game. Now feel the weight of this identity. Not pressure. Responsibility. Responsibility you accept willingly, because it aligns with who you are becoming. You are no longer experimenting with discipline. You are living it. You are no longer testing commitment. You are practicing it. Practice makes behavior automatic. Automatic behavior defines identity. Identity shapes destiny. This is not dramatic. It is though. decisive. Now hear the commands again. Finish. Not perfectly. Finish. Hold. When energy dips. Hold. Stand firm. When doubt appears. Stand firm. These commands are not shouted. They are remembered. Remembered in moments of fatigue. Remembered in moments of boredom. Remembered when quitting seems reasonable. Finishers remember who they are. That memory guides action. Action completes tasks. Tasks completed reinforce memory. This cycle deepens. Now consider fear. Fear often appears near completion. Fear of final judgment. Fear of evaluation. Fear of exposure. Many quit near the end to avoid that moment. Finishers move through fear. Not bravely. Steadily. Fear does not stop them. They accept the risk. Completion requires exposure. Exposure is part of growth. Avoiding exposure keeps you small. Finishers accept being seen. Not for approval. For integrity. Integrity demands finishing. Now sense the internal shift. You feel heavier with responsibility, but also lighter with clarity. This balance is mature. You are not chasing excitement. You are building substance. Substance lasts. Now let this settle. You are not defined by what you start. You are defined by what you finish. This truth will guide you forward. The final chapter approaches. It will seal everything. But this chapter gives you the backbone. Endurance, commitment, completion. You do not negotiate. You do not drift. You finish. And because you finish, you trust yourself. Because you trust yourself, you remain calm. Because you remain calm, you lead. Because you lead, your presence carries weight. This is the person you are now. Not the one who tries, the one who finishes. Hold that. Stand firm. Finish. The next chapter will lock it permanently. You are ready. Chapter 12, The Identity Lock-in. This is not a moment of excitement. It is a moment of arrival. Not arrival at an ending, but arrival at yourself. What you have built is no longer fragile. It does not depend on mood. It does not depend on circumstance. It does not depend on effort. It exists. Focus is no longer something you summon. It is something you inhabit. This is not a phase. This is identity. There was a time when focus felt like work, a struggle, a discipline you had to remember to apply. That time is over. You do not remind yourself to be who you are. You act. The difference is subtle, but permanent. Earlier, you tried to control behavior. Now behavior flows from certainty. Certainty is calm. Calm is powerful. Power that does not need proof. This chapter is about sealing that power. Not emotionally, neurologically, psychologically. This is where the transformation locks. You are no longer becoming focused. You are focused. You are no longer training discipline. You are disciplined. You are no longer experimenting with leadership. You lead yourself. This did not happen suddenly. It happened through repetition, through restraint, through consistency. And now it holds. Notice how different your internal dialogue feels. There is less debate, less bargaining, less urgency. Decisions arrive cleaner. Actions follow faster, not rushed. Certainty removes friction. Friction drains energy. Energy now stays available. This is why things feel lighter. Not easier. Lighter. Because you are not fighting yourself anymore. Self-conflict is exhausting. Alignment restores energy. You are aligned. That alignment is identity. Identity is the strongest force in human behavior. People will abandon goals. They will abandon plans. They will abandon motivation. They will not abandon who they believe they are. That belief has shifted. Earlier chapters dismantled the old identity. Quietly, without force. Now this chapter installs the new one. You do not need to name it. You feel it. It shows up in how you move through your day, in how you respond to distraction, in how you handle pressure, in how you finish what you start. This is the lock-in. A lock-in is not dramatic. It is stable. Think forward now. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Years ahead. Picture yourself facing complexity, pressure, responsibility. Notice something important. You are not overwhelmed. You are steady. You assess. You prioritize. You act. That steadiness is not confidence. It is identity consistency. You do not need to rise to the occasion. You meet it as yourself. That is long-term power. This chapter is about future pacing, seeing yourself operating from this identity across time, not just in controlled moments, in chaos, in uncertainty, in fatigue. You are still centered. Centered people do not burn out easily. Burnout comes from constant internal resistance. Resistance is gone. You no longer fight the work. You engage it. Engagement feels purposeful. Purpose stabilizes effort. Stabilized effort compounds. Compounding is invisible at first, then undeniable. This identity is built for compounding. Now listen carefully. There will be days when emotion fluctuates. That does not change who you are. There will be days when results disappoint. That does not change who you are. There will be days when motivation dips. That does not change who you are. Identity does not fluctuate daily. It holds. This is what separates phases from identity. Phases are temporary. Identity is persistent. You do not wake up questioning who you are. You wake up operating as who you are. This operation is calm. Calm certainty is different from excitement. Excitement spikes. Certainty endures. Endurance is required for anything meaningful. This chapter ensures endurance. You have already seen this pattern. The things you finished changed how you see yourself. The silence you kept strengthened your discipline. The consistency you practiced built trust. Trust now anchors identity. This anchor does not move easily. External opinions bounce off. External chaos does not penetrate deeply. You feel grounded. Grounded people move slowly when necessary, and quickly when required. They are not reactive. They are intentional. Intentional behavior defines leadership. Leadership over self precedes leadership over outcomes. You have crossed that threshold. Now feel the internal command. Not loud, not aggressive, firm. Internal command means you do not outsource authority to emotion. Emotion informs. It does not decide. The decision maker is clear now. This clarity removes confusion. Confusion drains confidence. Confidence stabilizes action. Action reinforces identity. This loop is closed. You no longer spiral. You move. This chapter is also about permanence. Not permanence of circumstances, permanence of standard. Your standard is now internal, not situational. You do not lower it when things get hard. You do not raise it for applause. It remains. That consistency is rare. Rare things carry weight. Weight creates influence. Influence expands responsibility. Responsibility deepens identity. This cycle continues upward. You are prepared for that. Now the intensity changes. Not frantic, focused. This is the final transformation peak. Short lines, strong pauses, absolute certainty. Listen, this is who you are now. Not trying, being. Stand, focus, move, hold, decide, execute, pause, continue. No debate, no negotiation. This is not discipline anymore. This is character. Character does not argue with itself. Character acts. Pause. Feel the stillness. That stillness is not emptiness. It is readiness. Readiness without anxiety. Readiness without urgency. Readiness grounded in trust. Trust in your ability to respond. Trust in your ability to recover. Trust in your ability to finish. This trust did not come from belief alone. It came from evidence. Evidence is unshakable. You have built evidence. Now consider temptation. Distraction will still exist. Noise will still exist. Shortcuts will still exist. They no longer own you. Not because they disappeared, because you changed. They no longer match your identity. When something does not match identity, it loses appeal. This is how temptation fades. Not through willpower, through misalignment. You do not crave what does not fit. This is why focus now feels natural. Natural does not mean easy. It means congruent. Congruence feels peaceful. Peaceful focus is sustainable. Sustainable focus builds long-term results. Now think about fear. Fear does not vanish completely. It changes role. Fear becomes signal, not barrier. Signal that something matters. Signal that growth is present. You listen. Then you move anyway. Moving anyway is not courage. It is identity alignment. You do not see yourself as someone who avoids challenge. So avoidance does not make sense. This is powerful. Now think about pressure. Pressure no longer destabilizes you. It sharpens you. You slow internally. You narrow focus. You lead. That leadership is quiet. Others feel it. You do not need to claim it. You do not need to defend it. It is expressed through behavior. Behavior consistent over time builds reputation. Reputation is external identity. Internal identity builds it effortlessly. Now future pace again. Picture yourself years ahead. You have accumulated results. Not all wins. Some losses. But one thing stands out. You trust yourself. You do not hesitate when commitment is required. You do not collapse when things break. You rebuild. That rebuilding ability defines resilience. Resilience defines longevity. Longevity defines success. Success is not speed. It is staying power. This identity gives you staying power. Now feel the internal shift again. There is no rush to prove. No urge to explain. No need to announce progress. You know. Knowing removes performance. Performance is exhausting. Being is efficient. Efficiency compounds. You are efficient now, not in movement, in energy use. Energy is directed, not scattered. This direction creates depth. Depth is rare. Depth produces mastery. Mastery changes outcomes. Now let the final affirmations layer in. Not shouted, integrated. First layer. I am ready. Ready does not mean eager. It means equipped. Equipped with discipline. Equipped with clarity. Equipped with endurance. Ready to face complexity without fragmentation. Ready to lead yourself under pressure. Ready to continue when it would be easier to stop. This readiness is calm. It does not rush forward. It waits for the right moment. Then it acts. Second layer. I rise. Rising does not always mean upward motion. Sometimes it means standing firm. Sometimes it means refusing to regress. Sometimes it means maintaining standard. When comfort tempts you to lower it, you rise by holding identity. You rise by not abandoning yourself. You rise by choosing alignment over impulse. That is real elevation. Third layer. I decide who I become. This is not motivation. This is authority. Authority over direction. Authority over effort. Authority over attention. You decide once. Then you live it. Living it reinforces decide. Sion. Decision shapes behavior. Behavior shapes identity. Identity shapes destiny. This loop is now yours. This is the lock-in. Not temporary. Not conditional. Permanent unless you choose otherwise. And you will not choose otherwise. Because this identity works. It creates peace. It creates progress. It creates trust. Now notice the silence. Not empty. Full. This silence is internal alignment. Alignment does not need sound. It holds. This is the end of effort-based change. From here forward, growth is expression. Expression of who you are. You no longer ask, "Can I do this?" You ask, "What is required now?" Then you do it. This simplicity is power. Complexity collapses. You are not overwhelmed. You are engaged. Engagement sustains. Sustained engagement builds legacy. Legacy is not fame. It is reliability over time. Reliability shapes outcomes beyond a single moment. You are positioned for that now. This chapter seals it. Not emotionally, structurally. Your nervous system recognizes familiarity in focus. Your mind recognizes authority in direction. Your behavior recognizes standard in action. This integration is rare and complete. Now the pace slows, not because energy fades, because certainty holds. You do not need urgency to move forward. You will move forward anyway. One decision, one action, one completion, repeated. That is your future. Stable, focused, led. This is who you are now. No announcement needed. No validation required. Just execution and silence. Final conclusion. You have reached the end of this journey, but not the end of your work. What changed here was not your environment, your circumstances, or your goals. What changed was the relationship you have with yourself. You learn to slow down without losing momentum. You learn to focus without force. You learn to act without negotiation. Step by step, you replaced reaction with direction, noise with clarity, and doubt with trust. Focus is no longer something you chase. Discipline is no longer something you force. Leadership is no longer something you wait for permission to claim. These qualities now live inside you as standards, not moods. You are calmer because you are clearer. You are steadier because you are decided. You are stronger because you finish what you start and trust yourself to hold under pressure. This is the identity you carry forward, not temporarily, not when conditions are perfect, every day, in ordinary moments, in difficult ones, in silence. There will be challenges ahead. There will be uncertainty. There will be resistance. None of it changes who you are. You meet it with focus. You move through it with discipline. You lead yourself without noise. You do not need to announce this change. You do not need validation. Your actions will speak quietly and consistently. Your presence will carry certainty. Your progress will compound. From here forward, execution is your language. Consistency is your advantage. Calm authority is your foundation. Carry this standard into your work, your relationships, and your quiet hours. Let it guide decisions when no one is watching. Let it steady you when effort feels heavy. This path does not end. It continues, shaped by choice, strengthened by repetition, and protected by silence. This focus becomes your lifelong operating system. Stand up. Focus. You rise now. You made it to the end. That already says something about you. Most people stop early. You stayed. If this audiobook challenged you, if it sharpened your focus, if it reminded you of who you're becoming, then don't let this be a one-time moment. This channel exists for people who choose growth, discipline over comfort, clarity over noise, progress over excuses. If you want more audiobooks like this, more mindset training, more leadership, more inner strength, subscribe, like this video so it reaches the people who need it, and share it with someone who's ready to rise but hasn't found the words yet. Stay consistent, protect your mind, and keep moving forward. This is only the beginning.